Hello, 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 hello. How are we? How are we? What's going on? How's everyone doing? So, introductions first. As always, my name is Ruin, and I am the Archsage of Arcana. So, yes, our humble little library on this corner of the internet. Welcome. Welcome. That's better. Okay. So, what are we doing today? Okay. Come on, my face is right here. There we go. Well, exactly as advertised. Well, so today we're going to be reading more of The Hobbit, hence the fantasy music in the background. Alrighty. Onyx, welcome in. How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you? There we go. Getting my microphone all set up. Let's get our reading book on. Let me first put on my robes. That way we can be extra comfy. There we are. Alright. Where did we leave off at? Bilbo had just best column at the game of riddles. Must wait. Yes, it must. We can't go up the tunnels so hasty. Hold on here. I'm noticing some static. I'm gonna fix it. There we go. Hopefully that fixes the static. Well, hurry up, said Bilbo, relieved to think of Gollum going away. He thought he was just making an excuse and did not mean to come back. What was Gollum talking about? What useful thing could he keep out on the dark way? That would be my dogs. Come on. Got it fit? Are we staying in? thought he was just making an excuse and did not mean to come back. What was Gollum doing? What was Gollum talking about? What useful thing could he keep out on the dark lake? But he was wrong. He did mean to come back. Gollum was angry and now hungry, and he was a miserable, wicked creature that already had a plan. I'm gonna change the playlist here. Don't like this music for what we're trying to do. There we go. That's more. Not far away was his island, of which Bilbo knew nothing, and there in his hiding place, he kept a few wretched oddments, and one very beautiful, wonderful ring. He had a ring, a golden ring, a precious ring. My birthday present, he whispered to himself, as he'd often done in the endless dark days. That's what we want now. Yes, we want it. He wanted because it was a ring of power, and if you slipped that ring on your finger, you were invisible. Only in the full sunlight could you be seen, and only by your shadow, and that would be shaky and faint. My birthday present. It came to me on my birthday, my precious. So he'd always said to himself. But who knows how Gollum came by that present? Ages ago, in the old days when such things were still at large in the world. Perhaps even the master who ruled then could not have said. Gollum used to wear it at first, till it tired him. And then he kept it in a pouch next to his skin, till it galled him. And now he usually hid it in a hole in the rock on his island, and was always going back to look at it. Incoming husky ASMR. He's gonna throw a fit. I can tell. I can absolutely tell. And still, sometimes he'd put it on when he was very, very hungry and tired of fish. Then he would creep along dark passages looking for stray goblins. He might even venture into places where the torches were lit and made his eyes blink and smart, for he would be safe. Oh yes, quite safe. No one would see him. No one would notice him, till he had their fingers on their throat. Only a few hours ago he had worn it and caught a small goblin imp. How it squeaked! He still had a bone or two left to gnaw, but he wanted something softer. Quite safe, yes. Okay. There you go. You can have the door open just a little bit. Okay. You normally gotta keep it closed when recording. For those new to the stream, my husky bandit has this weird thing with not dogs, with doors. He cannot tolerate a door to a room being closed that he wants access to. And so what he'll do is he'll actually throw a fit. He'll throw a husky temper tantrum over just a door being closed. And now he's gonna be the best boy ever, because the door to my recording room is now open. I swear, huskies are something special. But who knows how Gollum came by that present ages ago, in the old days when such rings were still large in the world. Perhaps even the master who ruled them could not have said. Gollum used to wear it at first, till it tired him, and then he kept it in a pouch over his skin, till it galled him. And now he usually hid it in a hole in the rock on his island, and was always going back to look at it. And still, sometimes he put it on when he could not bear to part from it any longer, when he was very, very hungry and tired of fish. Then he would creep along dark passages looking for stray goblins. He might even venture into places where the torches were lit and made his eyes blink and smart, for he would be safe. Well, yes, quite safe. No one would see him. No one would notice him till he had his fingers on the throat. Only a few hours ago he had worn it and caught a small goblin imp. How it squeaked! He still had a bone or two left to gnaw, but he wanted something softer. Quite safe. Yes, he whispered to himself. It won't see us, will it, my precious? No. No. It won't see us. Its nasty little sword will be useless. Yes. 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 Quite useless. That was what was on his wicked little mind. As he slipped suddenly from Bilbo's side and flipped back to the boat and went out into the dark. Bilbo thought he had heard the last of him. Still, he waited for a while, for he had no idea how to find his way out alone. Suddenly, he heard a screech. It sent a shiver down his back. Gollum was cursing and wailing in the gloom, not very far off by the sound of it. He was on the island, scrabbling here and there, searching and seeking in vain. Where is it? Where is it? Bilbo heard him cry. Lost is my precious. Lost, 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 lost. Precious and precious. My precious is lost. What's the matter? Bilbo called. What have you lost? It mustn't ask us. Not its business. No, Gollum. It's lost. Gollum, Gollum, Gollum. Gollum, Gollum. Well, so am I, cried Bilbo, and went out to get it unlost. And I went to get unlost. And I won that game, and you promise. So, come on. Come and let me out, and then go on with your looking. Utterly miserable as Gollum sounded, Bilbo could not find much pity in his heart, and he had a feeling that anything Gollum wanted so much could hardly be something good. Come along, Bilbo shouted. No, 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 not yet, precious. never guessed my last question, and you promise, said Bilbo. Never guessed, said Gollum. Then suddenly out of the gloom came a sharp hiss. What has it got in its pocket-seas? Tell us that. It must know. It must tell us first. As far as Bilbo knew, there was no particular reason why he should not tell. Gollum's mind had jumped to a guess quicker than his, naturally, for Gollum had brooded for ages on this one thing. He was always afraid of being stolen, but Bilbo was annoyed by the delay. After all, he had won the game pretty fairly, at a horrible risk. Answers were meant to be guessed, not given. But it wasn't a fair question. Not a riddle, precious. Well, if it isn't a matter of ordinary questions, replied, then I asked one first. What have you lost? Tell me that. What has it got in its pocket-seas? The sound came hissing louder and sharper, and he looked towards it. To his alarm, Bilbo now saw two small points of light peering at him. As suspicion grew in Gollum's mind, the light of his eyes burned with a pale flame. What have you lost? Bilbo persisted. But now the light in Gollum's eyes became a green fire, and was coming swiftly nearer. Gollum was in his boat again, paddling wildly back to the dark shore. In such a rage of loss and suspicion was in his heart that no sword had any more terror for him. Bilbo could not guess what had maddened that wretched creature, but he saw that all was up, and that Gollum meant to murder him at any rate. Just in time, he turned and ran blindly back up the dark passage down which he had come, keeping close to the wall and feeling it with his left hand. What has it got in its pocket-seas? He heard the hiss loud behind him, and the splash as Gollum left for his boat. What have I wonder, he said to himself. And he panted and stumbled along. He put his left hand in his pocket, and the ring felt very cold as it quietly slipped on to his groping forefinger. The hiss was close behind him. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out why we have static, and I'm trying to fix it. So, it's bothering me that I'm hearing static, especially on like S's, when I go hiss. It's very unusual. The hiss was close behind him. He turned now and saw Gollum's eyes like small green lamps coming up the slope. Terrified, he tried to run faster, but suddenly he struck his toes on a snag on the floor and fell flat with his little sword under him. Ow! I apologize to try to keep the editorial comment down, but just, I felt that. If you've ever stubbed your toe, like he's running barefoot, and then he stubbed his toe while running. Ow! 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 In a moment, Gollum was on him, but before Bilbo could do anything, recover his breath, pick himself up, or wave his sword, Gollum passed by, taking no notice of him, cursing and whispering as he ran. What could it mean? Gollum could see in the dark. Bilbo could see the light of his eyes fairly shining even from behind. unsheathed his sword, which was now glowing faintly again. Then very cautiously he followed. There seemed nothing else to do. There's no good crawling back down to Gollum's water. Perhaps if we followed him, Gollum might lead him to some sort of escape without meaning to.
Curse it, curse it, curse it, curse it, curse it,
hissed Gollum.
Curse the bacons. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. What has he got in his pockets? We guess, my precious. He's found it. He's found it. He's found it. He must have. My birthday present. He found it.
Bilbo pricked up his ears. He was at last beginning to guess himself. He hurried a little, getting as close as he dared behind Gollum, who was still running quickly, not looking back, but turning his head from side to side, as Bilbo could see from the faint glimmer on the walls.
My birthday present. Curse it. How do we lose it? My ashes. That's it. When we came this way last, when we twisted that nasty young squeak. That's it. Curse it. Curse it. Curse it. It's slipped from us. After all these ages and ages. It's gone. Gollum. It's gone.
Suddenly Gollum sat down and began to weep, whistling and gargling. A whistling and gargling sound that was horrible to listen to. Bilbo halted and flattened himself against the tunnel wall. After a while, Gollum stopped weeping and began to talk. He seemed to have been having an argument with himself.
It's no good going back to the Sarge now. We doesn't remember all the places we visited. And it's no use. The bag and Caesar got it in his pockets. The nasty noser has found it. We says. We guess it is precious. Oh, and Lake guesses. We can't know until we find that nasty creature and squeezes it. But it doesn't know. No. It doesn't know. It doesn't know. No, it doesn't know. What the press can do does it. It'll just keep it in its pockets. It doesn't know, and it can't get far. It's lost itself. Yes, that nasty, noisy thing. Yes, lost. It's off to the back door. To the back door. That's it. Goblin sees. We'll catch them.
What? Okay.
Testing. That was weird. I think it's my OBS that's messing up. Because for a brief bit, I couldn't hear myself. Whenever I do ASMR, and just generally speaking, I always have it set up so that way I can hear myself from stream. And I really think
GPS is messing up, but we'll deal with it. We'll just keep going. Okay. Also, someone's making dinner. It's something Italian. I can tell by the smell. It smells delicious. And it's taking everything to not just go rush and get I am so hungry. Oh my goodness. Alright.
Goblins. Yes, but if it's got the Prezi, our precious Prezi, the goblins will get it. Gollum. They'll find it. They'll find out what it does. We shan't ever be safe again. Never, Gollum. One of the goblins will put it on, and then no one will see him. He'll be there, but not seen. Not even our clever eyes will notice him. And he'll come creepsies and tricksies and catch us. Oh, Gollum.
Then let's stop talking, precious, and make haste. Make haste. If the bag and seas has gone that way, we must go quick and see. Go. Not far now. Make haste. I say make haste. With a spring, Gollum got up and started shambling off at a great pace. Bilbo hurried after him, still cautiously, though his chief fear now was on tripping another snag and falling with a noise. His head was in a whirl of hope and wonder. It seemed the ring had a magic to it. A magic ring. It made you invisible. He had heard of such things, of course. Some old tales. But it was hard to believe they'd really found one by accident. Still, there it was. Gollum, with his bright eyes, had passed him by a yard to one side. On they went, Gollum flapping ahead, hissing and cursing. Bilbo behind was going as softly as a hobbit can. Soon they came to places where Bilbo had noticed on the way down. Side passages opened this way and that. Gollum began at once to count them. 1 left, right, 1, yes. 2 right, yes. 2 left, yes. And so on. As the count grew, he slowed down and began to get shaky and weepy, for he was leaving the water further and further behind, and he, Gollum, was getting afraid. Goblins might be about. Gollum had lost his ring. At last he stopped by a little opening on their left as they went up. 7 right, yes. 6 left, yes. This is it. This is the way to the back door.
try to fix the static, because I can hear it, which means I know that means you guys can't. So I'm going to try to fix it one more time. There we go. Hopefully that worked. Otherwise, I'll have to restart my computer after stream. I give up. It's not bad enough to be stream ending, but it's bad enough to be annoying. And that's what I don't like. So this is what we'll do. In 15 minutes, our first break is going to come up. I'm going to end stream then, and I'm going to restart my computer. And I'm going to hope that that will fix it. And then we'll restart stream. Okay. I want to do it in 15 minutes so that way you guys don't get hit by an extra ad break. Alright. So we'll just have a long break while I restart my computer because I don't know what's going on and why we're getting so much static interference. But I'd like to fix it. It is bothering me. A Bilbo crept away from the wall more quietly than a mouse, but Gollum stiffened at once, and sniffed, and his eyes went green. He hissed softly but menacingly. He could not see the Hobbit, but now he was on alert. He had other senses that the darkness had sharpened: hearing and smell. He seemed to be crouching right down with his flat hands played on the floor and his head thrust out, nose almost in the stone. Though he was only a black shadow in the gleam of his own eyes, Bilbo could see or feel that he was sensing a bow. He was tense as a bowstring, gathered for a spring. Bilbo almost stopped breathing and even went stiff himself. He was desperate. He must get away out of this horrible darkness while he had any strength left. He must fight. He must stab the foul thing, put its eyes out, kill it. It meant to kill him. No. Not a fair fight. He was invisible now. Gollum had no sword. Gollum had not actually threatened to kill him or tried yet. He was miserable, alone, lost. A sudden understanding. A pity mixed with horror welled up in Bilbo's heart. A glimpse of endless, unmarked days without light or hope of betterment. Hard stone, cold fish, sneaking and whispering. All these thoughts passed in a flash of a second. He trembled. And then quite suddenly another flash, as if lifted by a new strength and resolve. He leapt. No great leap for a man, a leap in the dark. Straight over Gollum's head he jumped, 7 feet forward and 3 in the air. Indeed, had he known it, he only just missed the cracking of his skull on the low arch of the passage. Gollum threw himself backwards and grabbed as the Hobbit flew over him, but too late.
His hand snapped on thin air, and Bilbo, falling fair on his sturdy feet, sped off down the new tunnel. He did not turn to see what Gollum was doing. There was a hissing and cursing, almost at his heels at first, then it stopped. All at once there came a blood-curdling shriek, filled with hatred and despair. Gollum was defeated. He dared go no further. He had lost his prey, and lost too the only thing that he had ever cared for, his precious. The cry brought Bilbo's heart brought Bilbo's heart to his mouth, but he still held on. Now faint as an echo, but menacing, a voice came behind. Leave
Bilbo Baggins. We hate it forever.
Then there was a silence, but that too seemed menacing to Bilbo. If goblins are so near that he smelt them, he thought, then they'll have heard his shrieking and cursing. Careful now, or this way will lead you to worse things, Mr. Bilbo Baggins. The passage was low and roughly made. It was not too difficult for the Hobbit, except, in spite of all care, he stubbed his poor toes against several times on nasty jagged stones in the floor. A bit low for goblins, at least for the big ones, thought Bilbo, not knowing that even the big ones, the orcs of the mountains, go along at a great speed, stooping low with their heads almost on the ground. Soon the passage had been sloping down, began to go up again, and after a while it climbed steeply. That slowed Bilbo down, but at last the slope stopped, and the passage turned a corner and dipped down again, and there at the bottom of the short incline he saw, fitting around another corner, a glimpse of light. Not red light as of fire or a lantern, but a pair of out-of-doors sort of light. Then Bilbo began to run.
Forgive me, but I also have to run to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
everyone. We're going to take this time to do a quick commercial break. I'm not going to restart my computer. I think I figured out what to do with the static to at least minimize it. And then I'll be back. I'm going to start making some food, but I'll be back in about roughly 3 to 5 minutes. So enjoy the ad break while I'm gone, okay? Hello everyone, good to see you all again. So, let us resume. I'm gonna get a sippy here, make sure you all take sippies. We got about a half hour to an hour left in stream. Blame Onyx. She came in talking about the food that she had, and then that made me realize I hadn't had anything to eat yet. Alright. So where we left off was Bilbo was getting out of the mountain. My personal goal for tonight is to get the end of this chapter done, and then go to the next one. Excuse me. Scuttling as fast as his legs would carry him, he turned the last corner and came suddenly right into an open space. The light, after all the time in the dark, seemed dazzlingly bright. Really, it was only a leak of sunshine in through a doorway where a great door
A stone door was left standing open. Bilbo blinked, and then suddenly saw the goblins. Goblins in full armor with drawn swords sitting just inside the door and watching with wide eyes and watching that passage that led to it. They were aroused, alert, ready for anything. They saw him sooner than he saw them. Yes, they saw him. While it was an accident or last trick of the ring before it took a new master, it was not on his finger. With yells of delight, the goblins rushed upon him. A pain of fear and loss, like an echo of Gollum's misery, smote Bilbo, and forgetting even to draw his sword, he struck his hands into his pockets, and there was the ring still, in his left pocket, and slipped on his finger. The goblins stopped short. They could not see a sign of him. He had vanished. They yelled twice as loud as before, but not so delightedly. "Where is he?" they cried. "Get back up the passage," some shouted. Sweet mercy. Bad ASMR, Mike. I'll switch over to Blue Yeti if you keep doing this. I will. "This way," some yelled. "This way, this way, this way, this way." "Look out for the door," bellowed the captain. Whistles blew, armor clashed, swords rattled. Goblins cursed and swore and cursed and ran hither and thither, falling over one another and getting very angry. There was a terrible outcry to do and disturbance. Bilbo was dreadfully frightened, but he had the sense to understand what had happened and to sneak behind a big barrel which held drink for the goblin guards, and so get out of the way and avoid being bumped into, trampled to death, or caught by feel. "I must get to the door. I 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 must get to the door," he kept on saying to himself. But it was a long time before he ventured to try. It was like a horrible game of blind man's buff. The place was full of goblins running about, and the poor little hobbit dodged this way and that, and this way and that, and this way. Knocked over by a goblin who could not make out what he had bumped into, and then scrambled on all fours, slipped between the legs of the captain just in time, got up and ran for the door. It still was ajar, but a goblin had pushed it nearly to. Bilbo struggled, but he could not move it. He tried to squeeze through the crack. He squeezed and squeezed, and he stuck. It was awful. His buttons had gotten wedged on the edge of the door and the doorpost. He could see outside into the open air, where there were a few steps running down into a narrow valley between tall mountains. The sun came out from behind a cloud and shone bright on the outside of the door, but he could not get through. Suddenly one of the goblins shouted, "There is a shadow by the door! There is a shadow by the door! There is a shadow by the door!" Bilbo's heart jumped into his mouth. He gave a terrific squirm. Buttons burst off in all directions. He was through, though, with a torn coat and waistcoat, leaping down the steps like a goat, while bewildered goblins were still picking up his nice brass buttons on the doorstep. Of course, they soon came down after him, hooting and hallooing, hunting among the trees, but they didn't like the sun. It makes their legs wobble and their heads giddy. They could not find Bilbo with the ring on, slipping in and out of the shadow of the trees,
running quick and quiet, keeping out of the sun. So soon they went back to grumbling and cursing to guard the door. Bilbo had escaped. Chapter 6. Out of the frying pan into the fire. As they heads up in about 10 minutes, speaking of out of the frying pan, well, more out of the oven, I have to go pull my pizza out of the oven and then put it someplace where the dogs can't get to it. But I'll be back. Okay, we'll run like a 1-minute commercial when that happens. Or if you guys just want to stare at the artwork, we'll just have you stare at the artwork. It is pretty artwork. Bilbo had escaped the goblins, but did not know where he was. He had lost his hood, cloak, food, pony, his buttons, and his friends. He wandered on and on till the sun began to sink westwards, behind the mountains. Their shadows fell across Bilbo's path, and he looked back. And he looked forward, and you could see only before him ridges and slopes falling down toward lowlands and plain close to occasionally behind the trees. Good heavens, he exclaimed. I seem to have got right to the other side of the misty mountains, right to the edge of the land beyond. Wow. Where, and oh where can Gandalf and those dwarves have got to? I hope to goodness they're not still back there in the power of the goblins. He still wandered on, out of the little high valley, over its edge, and down the slopes beyond. But all the while a very uncomfortable thought was growing inside him. He wondered whether he ought now that he had the magic ring, to go back into that horrible, horrible tunnels and look for his friends. He had just made up his mind that it was his duty, that he must turn back, and very miserable he felt about it. He heard voices. He stopped and listened. It didn't sound like goblins, so he crept forward carefully. He was on a stony path winding downwards with a rocky wall on the left hand. On the other side, the ground slipped away, where there were dolls below the level of the path. Sorry, I lost my place. He stopped and listened. It did not sound like goblins, so he crept forward carefully. He was on a stony path winding downwards with a rocky wall on the left hand. On the other side, the ground sloped away, and there were dells below the level of the path, were hung with bushes and low trees. One of those dells under the bushes. People were talking. He crept still nearer, and suddenly saw peering between two big boulders a head with a red hood on it. It was Balin. Balin, look out. He could have clapped and shouted for joy, but he did not. He did not. No. He still had the ring on, for fear of meeting something unexpected and unpleasant. He saw that Balin was looking straight at him without noticing him. I will give them all a surprise, he thought, as he crawled into the bushes at the edge of the dale. Gandalf was arguing with the dwarves. They were all discussing what had happened to them in the tunnels, and one debating what they would do now. The dwarves were grumbling, and Gandalf was saying that they could not possibly go on the journey without leaving Mr. Baggins in the hands of the goblins, without trying to find out if he was alive or dead, and without trying to rescue him. After all, he is my friend, said the wizard, and not a bad little chap. I feel responsible for him. I wish to goodness you had not lost him. The dwarves wanted to know why he had ever been brought on at all, why he could not stick to his friends and come along with them, and why the wizard had chosen someone with more sense. He has been more trouble than used to us so far, said one. If we had to go back now into those bottom tunnels and to look for him, then drat him, I say. Gandalf answered angrily. I brought him, and I don't bring things that are no use. Either you help me look for him, or I go and leave you here and get you out of the mess as best as you can. And leave you to get out of this mess as best as you can. If we can only find him again, you'll thank me before all is over. Whatever did you want to go and do and drop him for, Dory? You would have dropped him, said Dory. The goblin had suddenly grabbed your legs from behind the dog, tripped up your feet, and kicked you in the back. Then why didn't you pick him up again? Good heavens! Can ye ask? Goblins fighting and biting in the dark, everybody falling over bodies and hitting one another. You nearly chopped off my head with Glamdring, and Thorn was stabbing there and there and there and everywhere with Orcus. All of a sudden, you gave one of your blinding flashes, and we saw goblins running back yelping. You shouted, "Follow me, everybody!" And everybody ought to have followed. We thought, everybody had. There was no time to count, as you know quite well. Till we had dashed through the gate guards, out of the lower door, and helter-skelter down here. And here we are, without the burglar. Confuscate him. Confiscate. I can speak English, I promise. And here's the burglar, said Bilbo, stepping down in the middle of them and slipping off the ring. Bless me, how they jumped. Then they shouted with surprise and delight. Gandalf was astonished as any of them, but probably more pleased than all the others. He called to Balin and told him what he thought of a lookout man who let people walk into them like that without warning. It is a fact that Bilbo's reputation went up a very great deal with the dwarves after this. If they still had doubted that he was really a first-class burglar, in spite of Gandalf's words, they doubted it no longer. Balin was the most puzzled of all, but everyone said it was a very clever bit of work. Sippies, everyone. Make sure to take care of yourself. Get a sippy. Silva! David, it's good to see you. I'm doing very well. How are you? How are you on the YouTube side? Yeah, we're reading through The Hobbit. We're about halfway through The Hobbit, and then we're going to go on and do the rest of the Lord of the Rings. I have it that if you want me to read a book to you, suggest it on my throne, and if anyone purchases it, we'll read that book. So someone last year suggested The Lord of the Rings, and so we're going through the entire Lord of the Rings series because someone actually purchased it. But it's good to see from you, my friend. It's good to see from you. Okay. There we go. Hopefully that'll fix it. Balin was the most puzzled of them all, but everyone said it was a very clever bit of work. Indeed, Bilbo was so pleased with their praise that he just chuckled inside and said nothing whatever about the ring. And when they asked him how he did it, he said, "Oh, just crept along, very carefully, very quietly." Well, it is the first time that even a mouse has crept along carefully and quietly under my nose, and not been spotted, said Balin. I take my hood off to you, which he in fact did. Balin, at your service, said he. Your servant, Mr. Baggins, said Bilbo. Then they wanted to know all about his adventures after they had lost him, and he sat and told them everything, except about finding the ring. Oh, not just now, he thought. They're particularly interested in the riddle competition, and shuddered most appreciatively at his description of Gollum, and I couldn't think of any other question with him sitting beside me, so I said, "What's in my pockets?" And he couldn't guess it in 3 goes, so I said, "What about your promise? Show me the way out." But he came at me to kill me, and I ran and fell over and he missed me in the dark, and I followed him because I heard him talking to himself. He thought I really knew the way out. Said he was making for it, and I just sat down in the entrance. I could not get by, so I jumped over and escaped, and ran down to the gate. What about the guards? Weren't there any? Oh, yes, lots of them, but I dodged them. Okay, I've had enough of this. I'll be right back. The mic quality might change a little bit because I'm switching over to my Blue Yeti, but I don't know why the 3DO is making these static noises. So I'm gonna go with a mic that will work. There we go. Alright. I'll be right back too. Okay. we're back. Alright, let's continue. What about the guards? The dwarves asked. Mm-hmm. Hey, Onyx. Hello? Oh, yeah. Lots of them. But I dodged them. I got stuck in the door, which is why I only opened a crack. I lost lots of buttons. He said, sadly, looking at his torn clothes. But I squeezed through all right, and here I am. The dwarves looked at him with quite a new respect when he talked about dodging guards, jumping over column, and squeezing through, as it was not very difficult or very alarming. What did I tell you? Mr. Baggins has more about him than you can guess. Gandalf laughed. Okay. I can't win today. I don't know why. Alright, I'm gonna cut you guys a deal. We're gonna start this chapter over because I'm gonna read out. My audio quality is not the best right now. And the way to fix it is going to have to restart stream and restart my computer. I don't know what's going on. It's really kind of unfortunate. Let's see. So, we're gonna go raid out. I'm gonna get something to eat because my food just finished. When I finish eating, we'll be back in about an hour. Okay, and we're gonna read some more because I do feel bad because we haven't had as many streams. But my 3DO mic doesn't want to cooperate if I whisper too quietly on my. Are you actually gonna work? Oh my goodness, thank you. Because if I get too quiet on the Blue Yeti, it doesn't want to pick up my voice. Alright, so I don't mind using the Yeti for ASMR. But if this thing actually wants to work, it will actually pick up my voice. See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm still talking, but some of my words, I can actually hear it. So, we're gonna be back in an hour. Okay. Alright, and I'm gonna start from the start of this chapter. I'm gonna get something to eat. I'm gonna restart my computer, and I'm gonna figure out the audio settings. Okay. So we'll be back